please join us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And welcome to the meeting tonight, everybody. Glad you're here. First item on the agenda is the next item is roll call. Please note board members in attendance and others. Next is agenda approval, and we have one addition. We will have item 7.5, and it is a presentation or an update on tennis courts up at the elementary school. Damien is here and will be giving us information regarding that. So that is agenda item 7.5. So with that, we will entertain a motion for approval of the agenda as amended.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Bob Woods, second by Ethan. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We will move to Mustang Spirit Recognition. This is good. I'm just smiling. It's like, Mr. Nelson. Who's going first? It's tip and tip night, let's face it.
I'm up. All right, so I would like to recognize two people.
Okay.
I'm going to start off with Ms. Tip. Could you please come up here? I would like to recognize Ms. Berta Tip. I started doing these 10-minute meetings, and when I meet with staff, I ask them 4 questions. Copying first leg. One of the questions is, who in our organization deserves a pat on the back and some recognition? And you wouldn't believe how many people say Berta Tip. And then I thought about it and thought how deserving she is. Berta does a lot. She works in our academic recovery center. She helps students stay on track. If they've been missing, she helps them catch up. Students will tell me that she has a way of explaining things so that they can understand. Sometimes teachers are busy with 25 students and they're not able to individually help everyone. They go to Berta and she finds a way to make sure they understand the content. She communicates with a lot of teachers in the building in order to keep students held accountable. She keeps track of all of our special education point sheets, which is a way that our case managers track how our students are meeting their IEP goals. She's able to have a tough conversation with someone and make them feel really respected during it. You might chew someone out for being on their phone or wearing their hat, and then the next minute they're hugging Berta and saying, "Thanks, Mrs. Tip," and walking away. So she has that way of talking with students, and she's very respected. So I want to thank you for all that you do. We're really blessed to have you at our high school.
Thanks, Berta, on behalf of the board as well. And we don't get complimented too often, do we?
No, I wasn't expecting this. I thought I was asked to come because of that. Thank you.
Second person I'd like to recognize is Ms. Jennifer McCulley. Would you come on? I'd like to recognize Ms. McCulley for 2 different reasons. First of all, she took it upon herself to apply for a grant recently. And this was the CenturyLink Teachers and Technology Grant Program, which she was awarded. And it's kind of funny because they were calling me and they wanted to surprise her with this check. But someone else in the organization, I think, emailed her, and the whole surprise was a flop. But the students win big time because our students are now getting a classroom set of virtual reality goggles and more augmented reality.
It like connects both of them.
How many are we getting?
30. Wow.
So really awesome technology, great for students. It's a program that's designed to help teachers bring innovative STEM type of projects to the classroom. So really happy about that. Wanted to show that off. Also, I wanted to also recognize actually 2 other things. Most teachers in our school have 2 or 3 preps. You know, they have to every day be ready to teach 2 or 3, maybe 4 classes. Ms. McCulley, year after year, she's preparing for 5 or 6, often 6 different classes. And that's a lot of busyness, and that takes a lot of being organized, and she's very good at that. The last thing I want to mention is all the hands-on activities that she brings into this building. And if she can't bring it into the building, she's bringing the students out on field trips to have experiences. I looked, all field trips have to go through me, so I get to see what kind of things she's bringing our agriculture students to see. Our 7th graders went to the Science Museum. 8th graders went to Olson Farm. They got to see the world's fastest popcorn packaging machine, learn about precision agriculture, things like that. Our fishing and aquatics class, they went to the Minnesota Fishing Museum. Landscape design, they got to go to the Home and Garden Show and get to know some people that work in the industry. The floral design class, they went to Dandelion Floral, Sticks and Stems, Nelson Nursery, Animal, Plants, and Natural Resources class. They went to Sapsucker Farms, and they also planted over 400 trees in one day at the Wilkins residence.
Betty
right?
Wilkins.
Betty Wilkins. And then last, they've gone to some local farms here with the large animal science class, including dairy, swine, beef, and alpacas. So if you ever walk by her classroom, you'll always see her students engaged. And then she also does a nice job of getting, her goal is to get every class out in the real world experiencing stuff. So really glad you're here. Appreciate it.
And I would think that when everybody gets wind of what goes on, they'd want to take the class for sure. It's funny you have enough room for everybody who wants to be in there.
Not to mention all of the things that you do with FFA.
Right.
Above and beyond program going on right there.
Thanks, Jennifer, and believe us, whatever we could do within our power to support the programs that you have, we will try. Can't promise, but it's all just excellent opportunities, so thank you. All right, are we to the next Mustang Spirit?
Well, we're kind of leaving it in the family here. So, Mr. Bentip.
Oh, he's surprised. He thought he was here for
He was surprised when I told him last week, hey, guess what?
We might have to stop because this is the quietest Ben's ever been.
No kidding. Like waiting for some. Yeah.
So this is Mr. Tip's 3rd year of the elementary kids doing academic interventions. The first 2 years the first year he was titled, and the last 2 years he's been doing LD special education with the intermediate elementary students. He just is a wonderful presence in our hallways, a great mentor for many of our students, especially some of our male older students, and always very gregarious and happy and just really lightens up the hallway. So, in that vein,
Now you guys can find out why I'm so quiet.
yeah. So this year, I don't know if you've seen, but Mr. Quall and I started doing Wednesday morning announcements, taping ourselves, recording ourselves, and we've had a lot of fun with that, but we tried to mix it up and do some new things. So a few weeks ago, 5, 6 weeks ago,
Yeah, it was about 5.
we were having some troubles in the Gaga ball pit thing. So I was like, hey, Bray, go get Mr. Tip, take him out there and have him do something about the rules.
So I'm sitting in 5th grade math, and here comes Bree in with her iPad, and I'm instantly like, what do we have like now, you know? Like, what do we got in the store?
What are they gonna make
And I
me
wanted
do
you
now?
to do a rules video for the 4th graders, and I just kind of tried to be like as 90s infomercially as I could. Because I had about 40 minutes to prepare, which I mean was no biggie, but then, yeah, so I did the first one. And they say they created a monster, but I think I created it. And before you know it, I got my own little segment and a theme song.
That's what you get for being creative.
So I really started just to kind of, all right, if we're gonna do this thing, let's do it. So yeah, the rest is kind of in history, and the kids, they sure seem to love it. I don't think they like it as much as the adult staff. But,
Oh, everyone's pretty crazy about it, and they now are asking what's going to happen next.
yeah.
So we thought we would show you a little bit of this last one. You want to watch yourself?
Yeah, not really. Just making sure everyone can see here.
I'm just getting word. We're live at the playground here with what you've been waiting for, tips by tip.
Mr. Tip here. Before we get all into the laughs and stuff, like the usual tip for tip segment, we're going to go over a serious topic, and it's language at our school. And along with that, it's more like language at just our school, but not only that, but the playground, the buses, the cafeteria, or even out here on our fields. All right? There's never a time where things like swearing, bullying, name-calling, spreading of rumors, or any other foul language are acceptable at our school. It's our responsibility as Mustangs to rise above that and keep that stuff out of our school. And now, for the second portion of the video today, I'm not going to be involved, but instead I'm going to leave you guys in good hands and turn it over to my cousin Ben from the Outback. Enjoy. Why then? I'm Mr. Tip's cousin Ben from the Outback. And today, I'm going to be leading you guys on a safari on the playground to try and spot good behavior. Let's not waste any time. Let's dig right in, shall we? You got to remember to kind of go nice and easy on the safari. Anything that we're trying to be looking for. I've already spotted some 6th graders on the spider web. Let's get a closer look, shall we?
So good.
Looks like one of them's stuck getting up. They're helping her out. Great teamwork. She's made it to the top. All right. High fives are given. That's the best. All right, let's keep moving forward. All right, I've spotted some 5th graders on the big blue swing. Come on. Let's get a live look in to see what these 5th graders are up to. Brilliant, it looks like they're taking turns. I hear there's 2 3rd graders down by the spinny thing. Let's go have a gander at what's going on down there. Yes, they're the 3rd graders off. Let's have a quick look in. Oh no, one of them got hurt. Oh my, look in there. She helped him right back up to full health. Now they're playing a different game. You gotta love it. So let me tell you, Mustangs, I want to thank you guys for inviting me out here to your wonderful school. I've absolutely loved it. Our safari was a complete success. And I look forward to being invited back to Mora Elementary.
I would like to say on a more serious note, we referenced how he's a role model for other boys. I've had boys that said, I said, who can you talk with? I don't know. I think I can talk with Mr. Tip. And he's been a very positive role model for other students and very approachable and staff level too.
You just see why.
No, it's all because of the kids.
Yeah.
They make it real easy to do it. So.
Yep.
All right.
But we're glad you're here.
Thank you guys.
I think you could probably be in a number of places too. Just stay here.
So the last installment is next Wednesday morning.
Yeah, we're
For the
doing
year, right?
yeah, well that was like, I like to call it the season finale of Tips by Tip, because next week we're unveiling our first ever Mora Elementary talk show called Tips Top 10 Talk Show, where we got top 10s, we got talk, and we got tips. So, so tune in if you'd like.
Your head, you're selling it all the time.
It is now, yeah. Oh, thank you.
Granny
Thank
shows
you
up
guys.
sometime.
Huh?
Granny Tip's gotta show up sometime.
That's good.
Well, thank you. The entertainment was wonderful. And thanks to all our Mustang spirit. Is there any
I had no idea that.
Oh, well,
I
that
had
was
no idea that.
timely.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think any of us did.
Not
Well
planned.
represented. Deserving, thank you.
I'm gonna have one.
Okay.
Yep.
Mustang spirit. Who's
Mustang
that?
Spirit, yeah, sort of. Mr. Nelson, can you come up here, please?
Whoa, I have no idea what's going on.
Oh, I know. Actually, it's going to be in reference to the next couple of items on there too. But wanted to say that I have the distinct pleasure I had nominated our school and your team in particular to be recognized as a recipient of the EF Education First High School Exchange Year's Global Education Excellence Award. And we were awarded it. So, congratulations there, sir. And it's in part because of what we do with our international students, both here, but also for our other students that Marcia takes, on our travel abroad programs, and that they were very impressed of how we get all of these kids involved, of not only the ones that we bring in here, but our students opening them up to the world as well. And it's just very impressive, so we're very happy and wanted to share a couple things with you. One is the award itself, and then the other part is handy dandy global education.
Great.
Award.
Awesome.
And so yeah. Yeah, it is. It's about everybody here but yourself as representative of that, and Nick as well. And I just found out today that where Nick was, that we talked to him down in Roseville. So darn him, I was hoping to surprise him too. But again, thank you, Marcia, and all the students that went with, all the parents, all the staff especially. Again, speaking for Einar, our student, but also, it's Gabriella, Katinka, Dominique, Frederica, Jane. That's just this year's students. Next year we already have, 4 kids placed. There's other ones coming in, and just I hear about it from so many of them of the experience that they have here. And then speaking with, my EF counterparts in different parts of the U.S. and out in Boston, that too, and even throughout the world, not every school is as open and willing to get them involved in stuff. From the coaches on down, every single coach is out there saying, heck yes, get them in here. That, we're not recruiting these star athletes, but just to get these kids as part of this team. It's really something, so again, thank you. So,
Great.
yep.
And thanks, Scott, for submitting
Sure.
and nominating. And
No, my pleasure.
it's a great experience for the foreign exchange students, but it sure enriches the lives of our students and everybody here in the community. So thank you to administration and teachers and everybody involved in coordinating. Thanks, Scott.
Sure.
Any other Mustangs here? Keep them coming, it's good stuff. All right, if not, we will move on then to the Newsweek report. Mr. Nelson.
All right, you guys excited for this?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's actually the U.S. News and World Report. So if you look back there, you can see our banner from 2 years ago. We were recognized. They every year rank the nation's top high schools, and then they break it down, and you can look at the state's top high schools in order. Mr. Call, can you click that one? So in Minnesota, there are 426 school districts they looked at, 853 total high schools. Out of those, believe it or not, there are a ton of schools that are, I think that's the next slide here, but can we go one more slide? So, one more. So out of those, I said 853 schools, there are over 400 high schools in Minnesota that are really tiny, so 15 or less seniors, and those schools don't count. They don't look at those. Also, we're not looking at any of the private schools. Most of the small schools are charter schools, magnet schools, and STEM schools, mostly all in the metro area. You back up to, sorry, one. I get to make fun of Randy later. I have Monoman on here. The criteria they use to rank high schools, there's 6 things they look at. The top 2 didn't help us very much. We only had 4 students that were enrolled in an AP, which is an advanced placement class. That was our AP psychology. But where we really racked up the points are our math and reading proficiency, and then so with this underserved population, they list 3 groups of students: Hispanic, Black, and students from poverty. And that, we have a big gap there that we work on closing all the time. And so we scored really well on, they measured our students' scores in math and reading that have free and reduced lunches compared to those that do not. And we have a smaller gap than most schools. So really proud of that. And then one of the smaller things is the grad rate. You guys have always known we've been pretty high there. Next.
Which way?
Yeah, we can skip this one here. Let's get into the good stuff. So this is the good stuff. These are all the districts that touch our district. You can see they only ranked up to 416 because those other ones are private schools or STEM, magnet, charter, very small schools. They didn't want to make anyone feel bad, so they have a range here for the schools at the bottom. But you can see we are the top ranked school in this area. Next. These are districts that do not touch us, but still very close. Yeah. This is the fun slide. This is the one where I had to pick on Mr. Quall. These are all high schools that start with the letter M. Where are you from, Mr. Quall?
Rural, but no.
Okay. Mr. Bakke used to teach in McRae. We got some our choir directors from here, Mr. Jacobson. Yeah, you can see again, we are the top school there. And then the next one is the Granite Ridge Conference. I'm going to go one more. We are not the top school there, but we are number 2. They did not have enough data on peers, so I don't know where they would fall. Cathedral's private, but then not very good for these. And we are number 2 behind Zimmerman. And when you look at those top 100, the top 100 are really almost all, a huge percentage of them are in the metro. There aren't many out of state. So we're really proud of our staff, proud of our students. We've got something really good going here. The next slide, if you just want to see, if you're just kind of wondering how would we compare to the best of the best, I did put the top 2 schools on there. They're tiny. It's a Math and Science Academy in Woodbury and Nova Classical Academy in St. Paul. You can kind of see that our math's a little lower than them. Reading, same. Grad rate, we're right up there, kind of in the middle. But look at their free and reduced. And that's what they're working with. We are 3 to 4 times.
Are those both part of the public school system then in Woodbury and St. Paul?
You know, I don't know anything about these 2 schools.
Well, I mean, to qualify or to be.
They're public, yeah.
To be eligible, so they like.
I don't know what district they're in.
But it seems to me like maybe they can be more selective in who
Oh yeah.
they have for
Oh yeah.
enrollment or those students.
Definitely. Any questions on the U.S. News and World Report?
Well, to be proud of.
That's fantastic.
It's the teacher. We have awesome teachers, awesome
Sure do.
staff, great students.
We know.
Marcia, you probably want that.
Yes.
Lights on.
Lights off.
Lights on.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks for coming.
All right.
Just a second, Mr. Cole, before you start the video. So this is just a follow-up for our recent trip, the Travel Club's recent trip to Italy in April. Riley Reynolds agreed to stand up and give you a debrief, you all, on the success of that trip and made a nice little video for it. And she said she doesn't have a script, so we're going with it. Yeah. And just to remind you, there were 26 people total, 4 chaperones, 20 students, and then 2 adults.
You can make it full screen, don't have to go on the But, so this is us getting ready to go. So not everyone had to ride the bus, but we went from Minneapolis to JFK, and then from JFK we flew overnight to Italy, which was, it's always awful to fly overnight because you are extremely tired. And the first city we went to was it's small, there was only 20,000 people, which is not small compared to us, but it's small for what we were able to see. So we didn't spend very much time there, it was just a quick afternoon, met our tour guide, just kind of hung out, had a fun free day. And then the next city we went to was Venice, which was probably my favorite, because there isn't another city like that in the entire world. It is all water. I mean, when we got there, you ride it's called a water taxi, and that's how you get there. And when you're there, you either walk or you are on a boat. That's the only thing you can really do. So that was probably the coolest thing, was just to see a city that's built like that. And yeah, and then this is Doge's Palace, which is where the Doges of Venice would be and everything like that, and in Congress too. And this palace still holds one of the largest Congress rooms in the world, which it should be coming up. That one right there, it can hold, I think they said,
3,000.
yeah, I think it was 3,000 congressmen and senators and stuff like that would meet there.
Would you pause really hard?
There's more of Tucker.
There is more.
There's more of Tucker.
The outfit.
Tucker's very
Backlog.
floral. Yes, that's for sure. And then this was probably my favorite thing we did the entire trip was the gondola rides, which at first what I thought it was going to be like riding a canoe, which it's not at all like riding a canoe. It's quite different, which there's actually only 433 gondolas left in Italy because the only people who use them now are tourists. Locals don't use them. There's no point for them to do that anymore. So, and like gondolier licenses are passed down through generations, so grandfather to son. And there are actually no female gondolier people or whatever you would call them. It's only men. And then the next city we went to was Florence, where he actually bought the shirt. The shirt is from Ireland last year, and then he found the pants in Italy. So
Oh my God.
2 separate countries. H&M.
And you happen to have the shirt on.
Yep. So we got to spend, it was 2 days in Florence, and we got a lot of free time here just to tour the city, find cute little restaurants, whatever you wanted to do. So that was fun just to be able to do whatever, because it was very crowded. And then one thing we got to do here was we got to go to, well, first I'll talk about this, it's called the Duomo, which is, it's one of the largest cathedrals in the world. And our tour guide actually talked about the reason that they were built so big like that and so tall was because they represented that no one was higher than God. And so that was fun just to see. We didn't actually get to go in there because it was Easter weekend, so.
I asked them to pause just for a moment, because if I remember correctly, it took 300 years to complete this cathedral. And it was all green and white marble mined from Italy.
So many years it takes.
There's a fun carousel that we all just decided to go on. But yeah, so this week got a lot of free time just to tour, and that was where Vickers' favorite panini place was, which she talked about the entire trip. But that's where that was.
And it was worth it.
Yeah.
Also
In that
famous for
picture-
Pinocchio and leather goods,
Yeah.
Florence.
Right.
In that picture of Katie and Kayla, they were actually comparing which person had more swollen feet, so that's what that was. This is what we got to go to authentic leather store and everything, and that's so we got to learn like the difference between real and fake, and then we got to shop around in this like authentic leather place, which was incredible. It was really cool to see the difference. And then Pisa, so that obviously one of the most famous parts of Italy, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. So there's that. And then we went to this baptistry, which was extremely cool. So it's a dome baptistry, and one of my favorite parts of the whole trip was they had a guy who came in and sang. He would sing like every 10 minutes or something, and the reason he did it was so you could hear the echo in the baptistry, which was extremely cool. So, and then like I said, the most Italy person. And that was the day we celebrated Katie B's birthday. So, and then the next day was Rome, which was probably like it's fantastic to see the Colosseum, one of the 7 wonders of the world. It's insane. So in the Colosseum, we had a tour guide there who, she just talked about like what they did there, the gladiators, and how the emperor would watch, and like how it was sport and everything like that. And he also talked about how like where you would say like the emperor was on the main level, and then as you got higher up, it was like more poor, and women had to sit in the very top. And they talked about how like during when gladiators were actually fighting, like you could vote, like not necessarily vote, but that's what they did is you would put a thumbs up if you like, it was good, or if the gladiators were good, and thumbs down for bad. That's kind of where that came from. And then the Roman Forum, which was probably one of my favorites too, because as you can see, like in that picture right there, you could see the reason that everything it seems so much higher up, and like that picture right there, the door, you can see the door's all the way up here, and there's no steps, and that's because that's where the street originally was it was up that high, or the ground was up that high. So that was really cool to see the difference.
So which you mean, like this, you can see this doorway here, and there were no stairs to it. It's a Christian cathedral. And all of this had been covered in sediment from centuries of flooding. And so it's a cross-section of history. So the street that people are walking on is the original Roman road.
Yeah.
And then you have, again, the thousands of years of history that they have excavated. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, that was incredible to see, mind-blowing. And to get to see that as a 16-year-old is insane. So.
Did you have a lot of tour guides as you went from city to city?
There was probably a local tour guide everywhere we went, because we had our main tour guide that was with us the whole time, but then I would say there was a local tour guide for every city we went to, every big thing that we saw.
There's a law against our tour guide giving tours. She couldn't tell us anything. Once she would get fined 10,000 euros if she were to tell us anything about the city, because they protect tourism as a strict occupation. So people can't just go up and swindle tourists on the street and say, I'll give you a tour for 10 euros. And so they put a very hefty fee on it.
Make sure all the information's accurate and tourists are really getting the true history behind all of it. So Rome was probably the most, that was the crazy. The reason, Kayla, I said right there is, it says Mora if you can't read that.
See that?
And you should have saw all of us freaking out. You can't take more kids into the city. And then after the Coliseum and all that, we were just able to have some free time to roam around. And then this is one of the squares. Nirvana.
Yeah.
Nirvana Square. And then Pantheon, which this was extremely cool because, so this building, the way that it is built, it's a dome shape. And for the beginning, there's a hole in the top that you can see. And so when it rains, this is what our tour guide was telling us, when it rains, the water or the air inside is warmer, so that when it rains, it evaporates right away. Like when it hits inside, so it appears as if it doesn't rain inside the building. So it was seen as like a miracle that it didn't rain inside there. And that building actually, like to this day, they can't figure out how they put that together and how that is still standing. Like that is still a mystery that many like architects cannot figure out how Romans built that.
The dome doesn't have any structural supports.
Yeah. So that's just fantastic. They still, to this day, cannot figure out how Romans were able to build that and keep it up for so long, and how it is still standing today. And then this is the Trevi Fountain, so the Trevi Fountain, you make 3 wishes, and the first wish is to come back to Rome someday, or Italy, and then the second wish is for luck and love, and the third wish is for luck and work and wealth. And so there's a very specific way you have to throw your money into the fountain. You have to stand with your back facing it, and you have to put your left hand on your shoulder and then flip it with your right hand over, or it doesn't work. Or you have to, or you have to hold it and you have to flip the coin over your head with your right hand. So
We learned that Italians are very, very superstitious.
otherwise, it does not work if you don't do it that way. Jen would kill me if she knew I put those in.
She'll never know.
Katie might kill you too.
I'm sure Katie's gonna love that one.
Oh yeah. And then these are the Spanish steps, which just like do it.
Which killed a bunch of us walking up.
Yeah. And then this was an overlook that we were able to go to the second day we were in Rome, and that was like a 10-minute walk up
We
there.
hoofed it, yeah.
Yes. But it was just a gorgeous view of the city. And then when you got up to the top, there was this
Like 40-acre park.
Yeah, just this cool little park that you could, which is kind of the only green we saw the entire trip. So. And then this is a group with some of the New York kids that were there. And then this is with our bus driver, Antonio, who we all loved. And then the Vatican museums. And I don't have a ton of pictures for this just because a lot of places in there you can't take pictures. So But it was very busy that day. There was a lot of people. It was very crowded, but it was very cool to see. Just as crazy as it was. And then Pompeii was probably, again, one of my, I say everything's my favorite, but one of my favorites. So this, they have plasters of like people and all that stuff, but actually there's only about 100 plasters. Oh, and this is one of the only original ceilings in Pompeii, because there isn't any like that. It's probably one of the only originals that they have there. And then they only have about 100 plasters because when the first dig that they did, people just, like bones or whatever, they just got rid of them. It wasn't a thing to do that until the second archaeologist dig that they started to create plasters of everything. So there's very few of them. And not all of them are at Pompeii. They go to museums and they go all over the world. So. And in that picture, I think that picture you can see the mountain behind it. And then Sorrento and Capri, which was a lot of people's favorites because of the ocean, or the Mediterranean Sea. So this was a view, which was like that was like a 5-minute walk from our hotel. So you could walk down there and go to the beach and everything like that. So that was fun just to have it was a nice evening just to go down there and just hang out down there. And then the next morning we traveled to Capri, which is it's very popular and it's very expensive to stay there and everything like that. But so we got a tour, like a boat tour of it, and it's gorgeous. Like everything, you think you're done, you turn around the corner and there's more to see. It's like never ending. It's really cool, and the water's blue, and we saw jellyfish, and yeah. And then we got time to go in the sea and all that stuff. It was quite cold, so not very many people swam, but there were a few who decided to do that. And then we got to see the Capri Gardens.
Was it what you expected for weather for this time of the year? Was it pretty
it was
seasonable, or
it was honestly warmer than I thought it was going to be. It was sunny and 75. Most days Pompeii got up to about 85.
There was some sunburn. There was a couple heat exhaustion moments with a couple students. Yeah, we didn't expect it. It was wonderful.
Yeah. It rained one night, and that was amazing.
That's
That's the heat
Not
exhaustion.
the heat exhaustion part. Not the throwing up on the bus. Not the throwing up on the bus part. The rest of it was great.
Yeah, get rid of that one for a few hours.
And this was our tour guide, Alice, which she was fantastic. Might have been one of the greatest parts of the whole trip. She was easy to carry on a conversation with. She was fun. On the bus ride, we would play games, and like we would sit there and talk to each other. I think in that 10 days, we created 1 million inside jokes that, like, it was so fun just to have someone who was so easy to carry on a conversation with and talk to. And then just shout out to our chaperones real quick, because without them, like, this trip would not have been possible for me without all the fundraisers they set up and all the time that they put into making this. Like, this has been my dream trip forever, and making that a reality is awesome. And this trip is, like, this program as a whole, like, to create relationships with people like Miss Harrison and Miss Vickers, I probably have never really talked to before this trip, and I probably wouldn't have if it had not been for this trip. But when you spend 10 days with someone all day, every day, you get to get really close. So that's really cool, just to be able to create relationships with people that you probably wouldn't have, and to experience such a great opportunity with them it really brings you together, and I think that's really cool.
I didn't care to say that.
Yeah, and I love the fact that I get to travel, and that's really cool, especially at my age. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then this video is made by Kobe because he's fantastic at putting together and editing all these videos and pictures.
He took over like 1,200 pictures
Yeah,
or
it's great.
something.
So this is just a quick video he put together that I thought was just cool to
It
throw
must
in
feel
there.
like we were there and stuff along the way. Well, thank you for sharing that. What was your favorite food?
Gelato.
Yeah, so it was good. Pizza's really good. Pizza's probably my favorite. And I'm very picky, so I might not be the best person to ask, but because I didn't really try anything new.
Personal preference, I guess.
Yeah.
But they ate a lot.
Yeah, food, there was a lot of food. Like, I remember our first night for dinner, we had a big lunch, and we ate at like 3 something. We got to the hotel for dinner, and we had pasta, and we thought we were done, and they came out with chicken, and then it was french fries, and then we had dessert. So it was a lot of
Thank you. Nice job of presenting. Great job. And thanks for coordinating and thanks for leadership.
It's easy with students like this. And I think Riley, because I don't know if I would have remembered all those details. So it just does tell you that it is education first. So.
A lot of memories. Okay, thanks,
And
ladies.
she's enrolled on the Greece trip too.
Oh.
Well, you're young.
Good to declare early and start fundraising. That's
Because you
right.
have the rest of your life to work and make money. So you might as well travel while you're young.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And we will move on then to the next item, and we have a presentation by Kat.
Thanks. You're welcome. Enjoy your show.
Probably not going to be as eloquent as her, but our best. This looks familiar because I followed the same template that we did 2 years ago. I chickened out to come last year, so here we are.
So it has been 2 years since you
Since we
presented?
You go ahead. All right. Just our mission statement. Got our brochures as well. We have monthly meetings every second Tuesday of each month, 3:10 to 3:45. Those are active committee members. Those are all the people that come to our meetings. We have a lot of members that are adjunct. And we do send out all of our welcomes. We started doing all staff, but we make sure we include all the arts educators for sure. Fundraising is a big deal for us because we want to make sure we can cover all the things that people want us to cover. We have 2 opportunities in September and then January, and then this year coming up, we're hoping to do adult painting parties. Debbie McGovern, we still honor her being a former member, and this year we got some more funding from Chuck McGovern. He wants to continue to see her name being and her memory being used for Debbie's Day at the Matinee and our CAP scholarship. He apologized to me that he couldn't offer more money. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was huge. Next. 2 big things that we do, or one of the big things that we do for Debbie's Day, or for Debbie, is Debbie's Day at the Matinee. We've gotten pretty good at doing that, one in the fall for the junior high play, and then one in the spring for the musical.
If it's kid appropriate.
If it's kid appropriate, exactly. And Peter Pan Jr. was a huge hit, and we wanted to thank Neighborhood National Bank for providing all kinds of cool prizes for them. 250 plus tickets, popcorn, water, prizes for kids. They came dressed up. It was really fun, even on a rainy day. Go ahead.
This is, we usually do a booth at Student Showcase, and this year what we did, I found, I wish I could remember the artist now, but I found that another school did something similar where they learned about a particular art style and an artist, and then they taught the kids to do some work in, it's sort of like Zentangle-esque. I don't know if you're familiar with that kind of art. But so what we did was a collaborative art project. The kids each got a piece of paper. They got to do a design, and we had it color blocked. So each sheet had a different color family in there. So, I mean, it was fun, but it was also supposed to sort of give some idea or some learning behind different kinds of art styles.
We didn't have a lot of pictures for that because we were very busy.
Yeah.
Very busy. And we were right in the middle of a hallway where 6th grade projects were, and so we had lots going on.
Well, Student Showcase is just a really fun, busy
Crazy
event,
fun.
so it's good.
And then my Debbie's Day matinee in the springtime, and that was Cinderella, which happens to be my very favorite musical, the Rodgers and Hammerstein. We had so many little girls dressed up as princesses, and I don't think we could have filled a couple pages, but I just put one up there. I don't know how Judy snapped that one of her and I. It was pretty fun. Packed. Lines went out the door, out the door, out the door, kids. I know we had more than 250 kids, even though we might not have paid for them all because they were so littles. Oh my gosh, every prize went, every popcorn went. They were just thrilled to death. They were like, oh! And then we had, for prizes, we did little glow, those glow sticks, bracelets. And so when you looked in the theater that day, we okayed it with Chris. But if you looked in the theater, you saw these glow bracelets and things all over the whole thing, and it was very cool. They looked like magic. Art after school, we've been trying to kick some kind of art activity after school. I think Randy has bothered us every single year to try to get us something going. So we really tried to push to get it going this year, and we were able to do art after school 3 months, and has been super, super successful. The first, and I always make a PowerPoint that goes with it, so I do a lot of teaching about the art itself and art ways to do the art and different ways to paint. This was a name art activity, and the kids loved it. And then in April we did, well, my favorite animal is a rooster. And because we live in town, and I'm from Northeast Minneapolis, inner city, it's very, very big city. And when my husband and I moved to our house, we have this shed, and my daughter was like not even 3 years old, and she told Grandma and Grandpa that's where we were gonna raise our chickens. And Paul and I kind of looked at each other and went, the chickens, okay. So we turned that porch into or that shed into a porch, and we call it the chicken coop. So it's decorated with all chickens, and I share this with all the students, and so when I saw this painting, I'm like, we have to make chickens. Of course we have to make roosters. So we brought in Judy Brockmeyer, and which was super fun, and she guided them through a painting lesson, and they were some of the best chickens we ever had, and Judy thought, on that one you don't see, but she brought in these big googly eyes that were like this big, and they went on all the chickens, and it was just fantastic. We could have painted all night. And then in May, we did Friendship Rocks. Last summer, I was in Grand Marais, and I walked up to this picnic table, and I found this little rock, and it was painted with a mandala, the circular designs on there. And I was like, ooh, someone must have left this. And I picked it up, and it said, rehide, share, or keep. And so there's been a lot of initiatives with these Friendship Rocks all over the country, and even all over the world. Kids have been talking about it. And so we started making Friendship Rocks, and as we had more time, we thought it'd be really fun to put them out and about for people to rehide, share, or keep. Again, we could have painted all night long. The kids were amazing. We had to paint certain ones to start, and then they freestyled. And then, next, go ahead.
We do have a scholarship award that we award every year. And usually when we get like maybe 2 or 3, but this year we had 10 kids that applied for the scholarship. And we read them blind, so we don't know who, just so that we can make sure it's fair. And so it was really fun to figure out at the end when we voted, and it ended up that Annabelle was the winner. And I mean, I was super excited because I had known Annabelle in lots of different ways, and I feel like she's a kid that kind of flies under the radar, so it was just, I thought it was really cool that we were able to recognize someone who's maybe not always the leading role, but does a lot to sort of make the school a great place to be. And the really cool story behind this is that we had our last CAT meeting while Art After School was happening.
The day before that, I went to Ace Hardware, and she was working. And I said, oh, would you ever want to volunteer for us? Yes, can I do summer art? And I said, well, as a matter of fact, we're doing a painting class tomorrow. Can I volunteer, she says. So
we were at a meeting, and the very first item on the agenda was to talk about who got the scholarship. And so Kelly said, I just want to introduce Annabelle Potts, and she's looking at us, and I knew, so I was just like, just read the first item on the agenda and don't say anything.
Yes,
so
this is Annabelle Potts!
Yeah.
This is her! and so that's when we got the picture, and it was just
And she is going on to study music education, which is a cool thing.
She was so
it'll
surprised.
It'll be fun to follow her career.
Yep. So then we're offering 2 summer art opportunities. Judy Brockmeyer started this many, many years ago. I've been doing summer art with her for the last 19 years. And she often is traveling and doing so many different things that she is able to fly in, do some teaching, and then fly out. Well, she'll be doing that again this summer. One opportunity is in June. We're doing 3 days of arts and crafts themes, and that's when we're going to take rocks to the next level and do mandala rocks. We're doing some wind chime. We're doing so many things. I couldn't put those all the pictures up. And we have them as 3 separate days, so kids can come in and do one day, take their many projects home that day, or sign up for all 3. Then in the next slide, we're doing a second summer art, and we're doing a tour where we have 3 full days of field trips. And again, they can come on one of the field trips, or 2, or do all 3. We are up to little over 40-some kids for each one of those field trips right now, and we're in the 20s of each of the days so far of the art studio. So kids want the arts. They really, really, really want them. And we were able to get a $100 MEF grant for transportation and snacks. Sorry, thank you, $1,000. I had to do a presentation there too, and they were like, will you present? I'm like, right now? Okay. And then Glen Sheen offered and gave us a $200 award. We're taking all those kids through Glen Sheen, and it's going to be pretty cool. And you can see the tours are listed up there. This has been so popular, we're thinking of actually offering a summer art tour like 2 months next year, 6 different tours, because it's just crazy, the kids want to do it. Lots and lots of all those things put into this. We had less in the classroom and more extracurricular, as you can see.
Can I just interject?
Yes.
We didn't give a presentation last year because super fun speaking in front of a group of people. But we did have a large grant that was awarded to our district last year, and it's too bad that we didn't highlight it because it was a really, really cool opportunity. So I'm going to highlight it right now. Yes. We partnered with the Children's Theater Company from Minneapolis, and I'm sure you're all familiar with their work. And we had an artist or an actor work with students at the elementary school, and I was able to sit in on a couple of the sessions, and it was really fun to see kids have some opportunities to do, and it was all literacy based, so they were learning, but they were doing it in a way that was unique and maybe a little different. And the other really cool thing was that they worked with our teaching staff to get some strategies on how to incorporate drama into teaching some of those foundational literacy skills. And I thought,
it was fantastic.
It was a really cool opportunity.
They brought in his guitar, and they made up little songs, and then they acted it out for the families. We did it in 4 grade levels for a whole week. Huge grant, lots and lots of money, and lots of work. But it was amazing. It
brought, the folks that came were from diverse backgrounds too, which I think is a really important thing for kiddos from our district to experience. People of color and people from other backgrounds doing things in leadership roles and being creative. So that was kind of a cool gift.
Yeah, and I don't remember the exact amount, but it was up near 13,000. The grant was, it was awfully large. We can move on. And so now we're doing our school board presentation. We want to thank the board for financial and just support of the arts, and we want to ask for continued support financially and in just the support of letting us do the things that we do and bringing art into the schools. And moving forward, I am giving up my seat as 3 years co-chair and 16 years on the camp committee. I'll continue to be on the committee, but moving on for some other leadership. And Sarah, moving on from doing 2 years of leadership. And we'll see in a little bit if you approve Deb Huberty and Richard Thomas.
I don't know, pretty controversial.
Aren't they here to give a speech?
All I know is I put together a document with all this stuff, like reminders of things that we kind of sort of do and what we should do each month, and it's 5 pages long so far. I know Deb looked at it and went, that's a lot. And I'm like, and that's not even everything that ends up happening.
Well, and I just want to say as a parent with 3 children who've been making their way through the district, I feel really thankful that they have opportunities to be so involved in all these different kinds of art. I have a niece who goes to school in Mountain View, and they had to choose at a really young age whether they wanted to be in band or choir. They weren't able to do both. And in order to be involved in some of the activities, you really have to, it's really expensive for one thing, and it's also just not, they weren't able to work it. So I've always been able to have a lot of different experiences, and that those things are celebrated. And I have a partner now with a little guy who's in our school, and he was just really surprised at how young and how skilled our musicians were in particular, but just in general. So I really think we have a great arts program in general, and I think as a mom, I'm speaking as right now.
And I just wanted to bring up the summer art stuff. 2 years ago, we had a huge summer art program going on. It was during the construction, and we really didn't know where to have summer art. Decided to use the stage, and so we did like Theater 101. We had like 55 kids come in. Summer art ends at grade 8 because then we usually have the kids at 9th and 11th, 12th to come and help. And so all the kids from kindergarten to 12th grade have an opportunity to be involved in as well as college kids come back every week. So, college is thriving and it's keeps on going through their lives.
At that particular camp, my daughter Lucy started out with her back to the audience, whispering her lines into the microphone, and by the end did a little skit. So and then she was in Peter Pan as well, so she's come a long way.
And that was really cool. They did microphone stuff, costume stuff, scenery stuff, and it went on forever, and everybody was like, Kelly, are we doing theater again this summer? I said, take your summer now. So that was last summer, so now we're back. Thank you for all your
Thank you
support.
for your time.
And I think as everybody is well aware in our district, we view education here as a balance in sort of the three-legged stool thing with the 3 A's, and arts being just a critical part of education along with academics and athletics. And I don't foresee that changing. And don't know that formal action or motion is required. I know that we budget correctly for a line item for CAP. Anybody would like to make a motion, reaffirmation, or whatever you want to call it.
I'll make a motion to reaffirm our commitment to CAP.
Thank you.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, just like that. Bob, go ahead, Ethan. And I just can't say it any other way that the commitment is there, and we see what, who we're serving or why we're doing it is because of the benefit to the kids, and just like Lucy and many others, they grow from it, enjoy it, and have opportunities they wouldn't otherwise. So thanks for all the work throughout the year, because it's great in the summer too when you're looking for opportunities like that. So we're pretty cheap. It's pretty good bang for the buck. Oh, you're pretty cheap.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Did we vote? No, we did not. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that motion passes unanimously. So thanks again, Sarah and Kelly. And thanks for your leadership over the 2 or 3 years.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
I'm actually 8 kids over and I don't have tickets for them, so I have to.
All right, I'll turn the lights back on. Thanks, Jody.
Thanks, Jody.
All right, we are to open forum. Is there anybody here to address the board at this time? Seeing none, then we will move on to consider approval of Mora Public Schools rebranding style guide. A copy of that, and Mr. Quall.
I think I gave everyone a copy of it. If you remember, back to October, we were kind of tasked with creating a pre-K through 12. Jody, was coming up here.
Sorry.
Pre-K through 12 brand that would really represent our community and our school. And over the months we've worked through that, and we really feel like we have a brand that represents our academics, our athletics, our arts, our pre-K, all the way up to our PSEO options. And Jody Eckes has done a nice job working with us, hearing a lot of feedback and giving us feedback about our feedback and taking everything with a grain of salt and giving her professional opinion. And she shared this with us last week as a final brand style guide. So I'll walk through it. At any point, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I have a few bullet points that she gave us about each page, just to highlight. Joey's been with us throughout this process. Mr. Baki's at a conference, so I'll show him the additional feedback. Our brand roadmap here, the point that Eckes Design wanted us to really highlight was minor departures from the brand style guide. It might seem minor at first, but it really has a trickle-down effect and can really dilute that over the years. So as we're implementing this, there's a lot of no's that are going to be said because we really want to stick with this professional opinion. We'll continue to gather feedback, but we really want to be careful of diverging from what she's intended. The brand style guide, there's the exploring, engaging, empowering tagline that was developed from 4 key words: strong, proud, caring, committed. And throughout that, with word art, those logos really She's created a color palette. I shared this with Mr. Strandy, who has a company that does some of the banners and such, and he was really appreciative of the details that were in this, the specifics for the colors, the specifics for the style guide. It talks specific about the blue, which sometimes the blue can be a challenge throughout matching that with print and such. So that's got some specific feedback in there about that. Any questions so far? Throughout this process, it's been more than just the logo. It's talking about joining the K-12 perspective from across the district. So she's given us a font family. She's given us a recommendation of what that looks like on websites, what that looks like as we're implementing the Mustang Express. And Jody has started a document, and it's kind of neat to see what that looks like on a document that we're creating right now. Why Mora schools. Tim has access to this, so as we transition to this, all the website fonts will coincide with that. The primary logo, the primary is what's established for those promotional materials, those high visibility locations, trying to have consistency with that. We've got 4 primary logos that are established, and the opposite color, so there's white on blue and then there's blue on the white. Those primary lockups have the logo, and then it also has the taglines that are associated with it, so depending upon circumstances. And if I went back to that first slide, I don't think the projector does it justice, but it really snaps out when I'm looking at my computer screen. It really catches the eye. It's a nice clean look as we're updating those things.
Do we know what the gym floor is going to have for a logo? Is it
Mrs. Osternick showed it to me today. There will be a block M, blue block M in the center. It'll say home of the cursive based on Heckus Design's feedback, and then it'll have the Mustang's word art. Heckus Design said you don't want to try to match that word art because you can't. So you usually go with something that's not exactly the same. What other things are we missing?
They'll say more on the end lines, like we're going to stain the wood instead of paint. So it's going to be a wood stain on the border of the port. And then the words, I believe, will be stained as well.
So the primary logos are there with the inverse colors and the taglines as well. Then it goes through and talks about, you can select the tagline separately. And throughout this, we'll show you at the end, this will be on our website for all vendors. We'll have easy access to that. All people that need those logos will have easy access. It's downloadable files. When I talked with Mr. Strandy at his business, it's a vector file, which is exactly what the businesses are looking for. It's a high resolution file. It'll be very easy for all the vendors to get it. So if we're dealing with someone in Mora, we will get them the information. But if we're dealing with someone that's online, we can direct them to our website and we can download that very easily.
And there's 3 different formats available. There's that, and I'm not sure on all of that printing verbiage, but there's a JPEG format, and then there's also a 4-color format, because it's if you're digital printing versus some other different kinds of printing. So there's actually 3 different formats available for each one.
Word arts are available. All of these can be with that primary lockup, but then these are all available separately, so that a sport can say Mustang Mustang tennis, and you can grab the secondary ones that fit, and you can make apparel, you can match that with your uniforms, etc. Lock M's that are available. I did talk with Agnes Design today. There will be a black lock M in there as well. These were things that we had initially had in there. Didn't have the most positive feedback, but it was something that gave options. So when we looked at if PTO wanted to have some apparel, these are other options that would fit in the future possibly, rather than remove them and not allow them to have access to those. Sometimes the girls and people as well. Logo designs, of course, designs. In the brand style guide, it talks about logo consistency. It talks about making sure that you're not squeezing on the left, you're not stretching, you're not tilting. On the bottom there, you're not adjusting the transparency from that set color blue font to a lighter one because of the lighting. It talks about that Mora Mustang. It's really hard to see. That is actually right here. That X out is because that's not part of the word art, so it says to not change the colors. I believe it's to not change the color. What does it say on there? Sorry, I can't. Oh, to squeeze it together.
So like the edge is like right on the edge of, so if this was like your PowerPoint slide or something, they don't want it to be right to the edge. They want a gap. That's suggested right there.
Yeah. And this is to not put it on a high or a busy picture. You want to overlay it. The next page must have the black.
Yeah,
So,
it's here too. It's two different.
So there is not a black or Mustangs in the word art, so it's saying don't change the expectations of that brand style guide. This is some discussions that we're having. There will be some certain situations that can go through the communication committee where it might go on a unique or atypical color, but that should not happen without the communication committee notice. And then here it's just changing. It says don't change that word art, the font from that word art. This was new this week. She shared some of the posters or the flyers that we'll be able to use online, but also, for instance, for the school board meetings, we would have a consistent look as we're posting on entryways, as we're putting promotions out there on social media or on our webpage. So there's 3 different looks that are available, but it's consistently snapping the color palette from our brand. This, I know it's hard to see, but this is a postcard that is editable by the high school or by the elementary. We use that a lot for our PBIS messages. We'll send postcards to parents or to students about the positive things that they're doing and basically the similar things as well. So we'll be able to change those messages, but we'd still have a consistent look with them. This is an example of what the letterhead would look like. And C. Business cards. So throughout this process, again, business cards. This is the look that would be a consistent two-color, two-sided business card. Envelopes. I know this is hard to see, but there's one that has the district office address. There's one that has the high school address. There's one that has the elementary. Consistent look, but we felt like we needed this because we'll often mail something at the elementary. It'll get returned. Sometimes it comes to the district office, and no one has any idea where it belongs unless you open it up. So here, for the return label, it will get to the original spot. These last few slides are not part of the brand style guide. This is the last page of the brand style guide. I put those in there just so that you can see some of the other things that she's been updating over the last 2 months. We have a link on our website already, as of about an hour ago, to show where that is, and show that it's easily accessible. So when you go to Mora School, we go to activities, there's the Granite Ridge Conference, and then there's a link right there to the brand style guide and to the files that are available for download. And the files are easily sorted into folders. So as you look at it, there'll be a horse logos, there's the primary logos, there's the taglines. When you click into those, there'll be the different files that Jody talked about. There's the 4-color process, the PNS colors, and then she created the PNG format, and that allows for our staff to easily manipulate things. So if they're making documents size, if they need document size pictures, those are all easily manipulated through Google Documents. When you go into that, there's 3 different options, and then they can download it. And if you see on here, you can really zoom in. You can see the nostril here if you like.
Take your word for it.
But it'll be readily available for all. In the next couple weeks, our plan is to, we met today with the coaches. I think there'll be additional meetings with the coaches August 5th, and then between now and the end of the school for those that weren't able to attend today. We're working on a letter to the community businesses and vendors so that they're aware of this process. We're working on a letter to staff next week before they leave so that these links will be easily accessible for them and they have access to the word art, the logos, the taglines, and also to those documents that have the stationery. And we're expecting to roll this out onto our website, onto our social media July 1st, and then we have a Mustang Express article devoted to 4 pages for August 3rd, so that we can roll out to the rest of the questions. Otherwise, we'll.
The Mustang Express will be redesigned to include all this. Go to the new ones. That'll be that kitchen. Any questions for Jody? If not,
I'll leave a motion to approve the brand guide. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Bob Jensen. Scott, I believe it was you. Further discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And thank you to Jody and all of the communication committee. It's wow. You know, it seems like it's been a long time. Like, Ben?
Yeah, it's been a long
Uh,
time. I think I looked at 1,000 or something.
That project has been a lot bigger than I ever anticipated it was going to be.
Well, I admit that it was from the first time we
I only made half the meetings.
had a concept for, branding. There was that involved. It'll be a good product and a good document for years to come.
Yes. Well, we talked a little bit about timeline-wise. We anticipate this will take about a 5-year rollover as far as uniforms go. There are some things digitally that we can do right away, and we get on those, rolling out for next year. But there was a question asked about the wellness center and the Mustangs on the wall there. You're going to go and tear all that down and change it all over to this? And at this time, no. We will, as new things go up, and then at some point down the road, we'll have to decide when the old goes away. But we're anticipating about a 5-year rollover.
Sometime in that period, there'll be a lot happening.
All right. Damien, are you Ready, you are
Yep.
up. Hi, Damian Williams.
Hi.
Smile.
See everybody.
You
see
too,
you.
you too,
All right.
and on the tennis courts
Yeah.
project. Leave the lights off, and do you want the lights off, or are you good?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Our discussion topics for tonight, review project, review the bid results, review the budget for the project, and then review schedule. So I'm not sure what you guys have seen of this project, but I thought just to give a quick overview, looking at 8 new tennis courts and an additional new parking lot that serves the tennis courts and also will help serve the softball fields. It's going in place of the 9th grade C squad baseball field. So I'll be right behind it'd be on the north side of the trail, or the north side of Mora Elementary School. You can see the playground's down in this area here, the cul-de-sac that's there. This is the cross-country ski storage building. To give you an idea. So.
Oh, okay, now I got it.
And we've attached it to the trails, the walking paths and different things. So it'll have good flow for getting to the softball fields. That's good. Community connectivity.
It's an interesting driveway. It seems to me from just my mind's eye, that's pretty steep.
It is. It is getting formed into the hills. So
Okay.
it is, yep. It does. It's.
And two-way traffic on that?
Originally, so we thought we were missing the ski building originally. Found out we weren't, so we had to make an adjustment, but it does work. So.
I think it was some of the original drawings actually had the driveway coming up the walking path.
Right.
It's because of safety issues and putting two-way traffic on there, plus
Walking.
That's what.
I didn't see the purpose of
On the other side,
Yeah.
but it also saves a significant amount of space across the tree line.
Sure.
Than it was than just the driveway. So we can utilize the driveway that we have just past the shed here.
Traverse the way up.
And it will still have, there'll still be a gate here.
I have
Traffic from coming beyond that.
Did you have a question, Brett, about the drive?
I was just curious what's right in the middle of all court.
Oh.
Oh, this here? Yeah. Oh, as an addendum, it was just a clarification. This is the final drawing that was sent out. Some changes that came, some questions came through, so made some clarifications. So there's notes I didn't know how to think about because it was on a PDF. So I was like, not any friend, but that's incredible. How many
We need those.
91 parking spots.
We're at 100, but we had, because of the shed, cost us 10 parking spots.
So bid day was yesterday. We received 3 bids. Bids range from $645,830 to $833,003. We recommend awarding the bid to the low bidder, Peterson Companies out of Chisago Lakes, at $645,830. ICS has worked with them many times. They have a very good track record with us. They specialize in athletic field construction, whether it's football fields, tracks, baseball, softball, tennis courts. This is what they do. They prefer not to. They prefer not to do any work with buildings. They don't want to excavate any buildings. They don't want to do those kind of projects. So this is what they focus on. This here is just our overall budget. So we show Peterson Companies with their $645,830. Tennis court surfacing. There's a company that the school's going to be working with to do that work. To do acrylic surface and striping, $7,000. General conditions, $9,142. Consists of permits and small miscellaneous things, testing. And then our design fee, ICS design and construction management fee of $59,500 brings us to our total project $761,472. I think originally we talked about this project being looking at a budget of $750,000, so we're a little higher than we hoped. We've been a little late this year. I think that maybe could hurt us, but we're close. As far as the schedule, project start, looking at July 15th. Project complete September 13th of this year. We have submitted for permitting. That's what's in process right now with the state, and hoping we may start sooner if we can get permitting, depending on what the contractor schedule is.
And project complete now, is that complete for the servicing too, or is it?
It's for the contractor.
Ready yet.
Contractor, it has to sit for 30 days once the contractor's done, as far as the servicing is, before we can put sealant on and striping. So depending on when they get it done, and I think he said it's pretty solid today that he can get it done in that time frame. We weren't sure how that was going to work out, but it should be done before that versus September. However, it has to sit for 30 days before it can be sealed and striped. So availability for fall tennis isn't going to be there.
Let's see the weather does for us too. Could work out really well. I don't want to promise anything. Right now it's raining and cold and miserable. So
Under promise, over deliver. Okay. Make a note.
Can we go back to the drawing?
Sure.
The other parking lot's to the left.
Yep, it's out here.
Yep. So that basically is a fire lane going back there to the hydrant. Will it be striped and marked that people can't park along there so that the fire lane always stays open?
Well, we just talked about having the gate still located right here to keep people out, but
You see what I'm saying though? From
Yep.
It's pretty narrow. If people start parking along there,
They are
gonna
already.
go-
Well, then we need to mark it or
Right,
paint it or do something with it so it's.
Yeah.
So that they-
They're parking.
As long as it's in the
now.
design, that's all I care about because it's going to be spending after the fact.
Yeah, it's not necessarily going to be this project as much as it is just what we already have. So that'll be something we'll be doing internally.
Amy,
yep.
is there, are those two things right in between the top two ports, you know, at the top of the page and the bottom of the page, are those bleacher seatings? Is that
You're talking
right up?
here,
Nope, up a little higher to your right, right there.
this space here.
Nope, right where your finger is. Right, yeah. And it could be out of my
Gate, right?
but that was my eyes this evening.
So if this right, there is space between the courts. I'm not
Okay.
sure. We didn't particularly say put bleacher seating there. But
Okay.
That's the plan, we're gonna have the bleachers in the middle of.
Yeah, that was just something that was a recommendation, because it's really tough to see from, if you're just on one side, to try to look all the way across 4 courts.
So it'll be between, so it'll be 2 courts.
Yeah. Yeah, it won't necessarily be right up in the middle, but that's why I was thinking at either end, saying, well, that's certainly better than, you know, on the far side, trying to look at the far courts.
Which, the end fences, dark? Or not? Like, can you see through?
they're not.
You don't see. What do you think it is?
Well, these are just like St. Francis's courts, and they're my favorite courts to play on. Just because of that middle area, so it's like, this is the best setup for spectating tennis, I think, because the middle fences, where that walkway is, they're lower than the outside fences, so you can see right over top of them, and there's nothing blocking your view.
Contains the wall, still
Yeah.
open up, you can still sit there, be right in the action.
Yes. Maybe you hit my ball.
You sure you want to graduate?
I was just thinking that.
So with the parking lot, will people be able to park up there to watch the ball game or the baseball and stuff?
for anybody. I'm assuming it's just extra spaces.
I assume.
This row here?
Yep.
Softball field right there.
Perfect.
And these parking spots all along here all face in right towards it.
So then, I guess my question is, there's like foot access from the parking lot, looks like.
Yeah,
north end or something.
right out here, right onto the track, right on the trail, right again there.
Perfect.
Here, here.
Nice
All access
addition.
is right onto the trail.
That's the first time I've seen it.
For handicapped access.
Me too. I don't think any of us is.
It is a perimeter fence going around there then, right? You're just pointing the gates?
Yeah, there's rubber fence around the whole.
And we just talked today that there'll be two handicapped accessible spots here with the middle piece and as well two here. And we talked about adding two here and two here as well. Just going up there to a game the other day with Isle, there was a lot of grandmas and grandpas there.
Yeah.
Isle's got a very good softball team. There was a lot of spectators there. I think we're going to be
so happy with our parking on the other side.
Well, I got more than one text. They,
I bet you did.
something about a Basel open art show or something.
Oh, yeah?
Three cars in there, and they were making 100 people walk or something.
Right.
But this will be very spectator friendly and possibly
Well needed.
Damien, I have a question. Thinking about the ball balls, how many feet are there between home plate and that first court closest?
Foul balls from the softball?
Yeah.
Oh,
There.
The Barcelona is perfect.
Probably farther than. Hope so.
same distance as there is between the other softball fields.
Right now?
Yeah.
Oh.
I just don't want.
Yeah.
What's probably a lot.
Do you think we should put the cars over there? Or?
We don't have to move this for good high school.
No.
It will think west, hopefully.
Well, I mean, the good news is you got 5 minutes. That'll help.
And that field should be, I guess, over the softball field.
That could be.
We could redo, that's really to redo this fence and make it a little taller, one of those fancy.
A year ago, we did go up there and meet with Chris Osterbeck and Jim Kowalski and talk very specifically about what do you think, what's your feelings about doing this? And he said, well, this will work if you can upgrade this field with this and that field with this and this field with that, and that will meet all of my needs. And so we did that already. We have 3 fields at his request. But I believe he's like a pitching mound.
We haven't done that yet because we didn't have to. We did cut out the infield of the old softball field to make it longer bases for junior high baseball. So that's, they're playing on now. We have a bunch of I did all that stuff last fall, so that's all.
Damien, how much would it cost to light 2 of the courts and the parking lot?
Like the, well, light poles are roughly, I mean, budgetary, $5,000. And then you have for service out there, but
Well, there is no, there are no lights.
No.
no lights.
No lights on the current tennis field or tennis courts. And if you took a look at the budget, we were a little over budget already. So if you'd like us to add it, we can.
Future. Any
There's
other
a lot of
questions?
lighting out there already, right? For the playground and stuff.
The what?
For the playground and stuff, there's.
It's off
no
the wellness
lighting.
center.
All packs on the,
Just off the building.
the building.
Mhm.
We have an outside light on the tenant, or on the north show. That's.
easier to put in when they got everything.
So are you asking for a quote? Price?
Again, the main reason we didn't go with lights is that we don't have lights on the curb.
And the second main reason is we're already a little over than what we wanted to spend on this.
Well, as was mentioned, when we talked specifically with the tennis coaches about designing the courts, we didn't say no to anything that was for as long as we kept it within the budget. They did request, and this just came in last week, 2 weeks ago, that they would like to have electrical right in the middle for their hot pitching machines, whatever they use.
They're lobsters. They're called lobsters.
Lobsters.
And I hadn't thought of that or heard of that, but I was thinking that you needed electricity in there, so I think you gotta do it now. If you're gonna do something, do it right.
So this price is without the electricity to the courts at all?
Right, and then there's electric at the gazebo, so we'll just have to add some conduit, two spots on the.
If their service is big enough.
It's big enough to do the 2 lobsters, but it's not big enough to do
You're gonna have to run another big one.
They told me it's already borderline as far as not the all circuits. But if you like that, we certainly can.
I don't think we got a choice. I guess we got a choice.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we have a choice.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we do. It would be nice to have lit tennis courts, but then again, we don't now.
Yes,
Yeah.
I guess
So-
it's a matter of getting practical or realistic, just have something considered.
I was thinking the parking lot. Also, because.
If there's no lit courts, then there's no reason to be up there in the dark.
Right, there are no
Well,
lit
that's
ball
when we looked at
fields. There-
softball fields as well. There's no lit softball fields, and so then
Right.
we're talking
Or
about
baseball.
parking lot. If we don't have lit softball fields, there's no reason to have a lit parking lot. And we currently don't have a lit tennis court, and so I didn't hear any requests for that as it was being designed.
I think it could be added later if we needed to. I think it could come around the outside. I think you could come in without disrupting. If you needed to, if you wanted to.
If it became an issue.
I guess I don't see a need to do that.
I'm kind of in Ethan's side on this. It looks like there's space around it if it became an apparent need or in the future, but.
Do you have an opinion, Damien? Strongly?
Well, I'm just thinking out loud, maybe we put some PVC conduits or whatever underneath those walkways, so we have the ability to handle the air.
Some sleeves.
Not the issue.
Well, that would help me immensely.
Future proof it a little bit?
Right.
That would be great.
You know, we can put on a plan and we know where they're at.
It's
Few years down the road, it
definitely a
changes,
good
shift those
consideration,
funds way through,
something to talk about.
navigate the wires.
Yep.
You don't think we should have the parking lots?
Well, at what cost? Yeah, of course. It's
If none of the other ball fields are lit, there won't be any reason to that.
Right, that's.
Yeah.
And we asked the
we also
question of our
know that
design
people
too.
do
We
different
talked about putting
things.
one light on the parking lot and where the fence was.
Yeah, I guess as I'm mulling it around in my mind, I'm thinking it means security consideration.
That's kind of what I was thinking, like summer, the sun's out kind of late, but fall and spring, there's a lot of moms that bring their kids and they want to get to that trail and it's dark early.
Maybe the city wants to light the trail.
I guarantee the city doesn't want to light the trail.
I'm glad we have a nice little trail.
Yeah, the trail's not lit.
Alright, so whatever you could do to make it more cost effective later, later time. Makes sense for.
Well, I just watched in the past year the Madison rip up the courthouse parking lot across to get a security light out there. Looks like hell. After the fact, my opinion is that at least get it so that you can get electricity out there without ripping up the parking lot.
I agree. I think we all do say, I think that's a good.
If you're gonna do that,
So, again, we're trying to build everything for the future,
Yep.
so it's set. We don't have to do it, but let's get it so we can.
as long as we're gonna do that, yeah, as long as we can add it in the future and not dig up a parking lot.
We'll just leave, let us leave at each one of these connection points. And probably sleeve underneath this driveway. We can have my reservation.
There are, they have late night things.
If there are courts, like Cambridge, a lot of people go there, they have 2 lit courts, and so I know like the Sampsons will go there at night, and there's a few other guys in Tennessee who drive there.
Because I know that the baseball field, like, we asked about that since the day I started here.
Yeah.
And track wants it too.
And running
I was
is-
gonna say,
And there's no way to add, where did you say the electricity would have to go in for inside the tennis court, right in the center?
Well, you're talking about putting it like on the ends in the center, right?
Do you run a cord or do you want?
Well, electric.
You probably want it in the middle.
Well, yeah, I think it's in the middle what they're talking about.
A lot of that's a little somewhere there.
Oh, yeah, those.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Can we do that then? Okay.
Maybe how many poles would a parking lot that small need to
Require?
have? Like,
Probably 4. Right, one on each end and 2 in the middle. I'd probably just have two over here. You know, have 1 here, 2 here, 1 at that end. Would lay electricity.
Any other
Do that
questions?
1 foot candle.
Comments? So, I'll entertain a motion to approve the tennis courts project as presented with those suggestions.
That's
Okay.
accepting the 645,000.
That would be accepting the 761, 472, which is approximately $11,000 and some over that.
Well, we're taking a little bit, right?
Yeah, but then there are the other costs. So, added cost of $761,472. Okay, and that was Tammy and Scott, or Scott? Scott and Tammy, thank you. Any further discussion?
And that will include what we were talking about, the PVC pipes and stuff.
Yeah,
conduit.
We can incorporate it.
Yes?
Yes.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thanks,
Damien?
Steve.
Thanks, guys.
That's good?
That's included. Newer law.
Next item on the agenda is consider approval of the 2019-2020 calendar adjustments, which are the e-learning day option that we approved, as well as a 2-hour early release, February 21st, 2020. So we host the
Yeah.
wrestling sections
Yep.
that day, is that?
Yep, and we just found out about that about a month ago. Chris Osterdyke was notified that it was our turn to take the sections individual wrestling. And it was 7 or 8 years ago was the last time we did it, and we did the same thing at that time. The wrestlers start rolling in about 10 in the morning, and They actually weigh in and start wrestling at 1 o'clock. So we keep the back lot open until we move the buses out of here at 1 o'clock. So it's a quarterly release. We'll use it for staff development. Or staff.
Okay, somebody make a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Tammy, second by Ethan.
All excited.
Right, that's
We
what-
did not approve it, you're right, I'm sorry,
No,
Brenda,
that's just
I
good for-
apologize. So, maybe we need to do this in 2 motions, or back up. Yes, that isn't on here.
I make a motion to approve the e-learning days as they were presented to us at the last school board meeting.
Can we rescind the motion,
Oh.
or lay that aside, whatever you call it? There's such a thing as laying aside a motion, but
Vote on the 2 hour early, please.
let's lay that motion aside that we just, that was just made for the calendar adjustments. And motion to approve the e-learning day options as presented last month. Did that be Bob?
That was me.
Second by Bob Jensen. Any further discussion on that? Did anybody have anything further or questions after considering that proposal or that presentation? Okay, so all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion then passes unanimously to e-learning day options. Thank you very much. So, we can just insert that motion, and I'll make it again. It was same as was before. Any discussion on that motion, and then to consider approval of the 2019-2020 calendar adjustments. If not, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes unanimously. Okay, consider approval of the EPIC joint cooperative agreement amended April 17th, 2019. You have a copy of the agreement in your packet, and just to point out that it is changing the districts that participate. St. Francis is out, Isle is an addition, is that right? So, anything else? All right, so motion to approve.
I'll move it.
Motion by Bob Jensen, second by Scott. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Consent agenda. Any requests to remove any items from the consent agenda? If not, motion please to approve it as presented.
Make a motion to approve.
So second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion on the consent agenda. Questions and comments? I will just note the gifts and donations, a number of them. I was just picking up the ones for proms. I think what we'll do is we need to mention United Way, $420 for ALC. And then it was mentioned earlier also, but $2,000 from Chuck McGovern, $1,000 for the Debbie McGovern Scholarship, and $1,000 for CAP. And then these people donated for prom, and is Pizza Pub, All-American Title, Varnick Agency, Beaudry Oil, Belford Electric, Dairy Queen, Glenn's Tire, Imperial Plastics, Linda's Hair Design, Mick and Mary's Candy Shop, Monterey Insurance, or Chevrolet Buick, or Radiator and Repair, RJ Mechanical, Scott's Lawn and Landscape, Sherman Lumber, Schobert and Holmstrom, Stenstrom Collision and Detail, Tim and Connie Stevens, for Citizens Bank, Mora, Ace Hardware, Typewriter Carpentry, and Town and Country Insurance. And just as I did a quick add up, it's right at $1,600, so that's a nice assistance for proms. So thanks
Just
to
a
all of those.
clarification, looks like the Pizza Pub was actually for robotics.
I'm sorry, it is. Yep, Pizza Pub is $176 for robotics. And I didn't include them in the $1,600 total. You can check my, but I did it in my head really, really quickly, but it's right around there. So thanks to all of the businesses for the gifts and donations, and individuals also. Appreciate it. Any other discussion on the consent agenda? Not all in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. And that motion passes unanimously. Board reports. Board member meetings.
C today, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Real cool. Yeah, and just gonna hit a couple of some of that. I got decent eyes, but that was really tough to read some of that stuff on the screen on the paper. But I just want to hit this one. One nice thing, again, we're not gonna put nothing final about the special session, but everything's agreed to. They're moving on with it. The ag bond credit regarding referendums is going to be tiered up starting in 2020. It's right now at 40% that they're doing it. It'll be 50%, and 55%, and 60%, and 70% by 2023. All applicable with existing and future bonds. So it's most definitely a big help to us. Yeah. I didn't mean to steal it, but we were both very happy. We got that one. I'm going to cover just the Senate and the special ed and the. That's great. Yeah, and there's some other things. There are these meetings, as Tammy knows, it is such a wonderful thing, the information you get. And Tom Milton there and his assistant deputy. She was very knowledgeable too, but yeah, a lot of information being given. So I'm going to let it go at that.
Okay, Scott. Bob.
Board advisory was May 13th. Attended that. We went through, Mr. Schultz gave us the state statute on what we're supposed to be doing and everything. We did the fast testing by Darcy. She came in and presented. Nick and Randy presented Mustang branding to that group. Went through the board advisory calendar for next year. Mr. Schultz gave us a legislative update. Then attended a Rum River meeting on May 8th at 11 o'clock over at the Oakley School. At that meeting, we discussed heavily Cambridge and them getting out of Rum River, and it sounds like their building project will be done towards projected May of 2020, so we'll have their kids at least till then. That was the earliest that they would be having it done, as the superintendent from there explained at that meeting. That was the major thing with Rum River. So.
Okay, thank you. Board members attend meeting. All right. Student board member.
Okay. So Molly and I, we had our last city council meeting ever last Wednesday, so that was sad. But we had a pizza party, so I guess it's kind of fun. It was also Miss Austin's birthday. We just had our last chance dance, the 2 Fridays ago? The 10th. And it was a good turnout. We made money, and so we officially made money on all our dances this year, which doesn't always happen, so that was cool. And then that Thursday, May 9th, we had our mass singer competition with teachers. We changed it to mass teacher, so we did any copyright things coming at us. I think it was a hit. I laughed the entire time. I think the students were a little confused at what was happening. But the teachers really liked it. We had there was some negative feedback. We had a lot of positive feedback about like maybe next year some kids wanted to do it, or like we changed it to math student or math senior maybe.
Or math board member.
Or math board member. And
I don't think that was suggested.
I think that was anywhere. I'm sure it was not.
That was.
Math
Yeah, there you go. He started it, he's treading on thin ice.
So, yeah, we had a fun time. Also, it was it teacher appreciation last week? Oh my gosh. 2 weeks ago, at City Council, we got bags of popcorn for all the teachers. Saying, popping in to say thanks for being a great teacher. They were in their mailbox that Friday.
It actually wasn't mine.
Oh, okay.
You were all for it though.
Sorry, I had to go.
We, at our meeting, we talked about getting gifts for the foreign exchange students, which we have 6 of them, and it's really sad to think that they're gonna be gone, even though we're leaving next year. Just think that they're gonna have so much because a lot of them really got principals this year, and so, we're getting them each a little wall license for their to remember Mora by. Next week is Move Up Day. The 6th graders are coming up on Wednesday the 29th for their Move Day, where student council members are going to lead them around the school and just give them a little preview of what it's like to be here. And so they are super confused when they start. There'll be a little greeting out front, like usual, just to kind of get them pumped up. And then we'll start moving around the high school.
So our summer blood drive is June 21st, and it's at the Methodist Church of Senior Center, and I think Emerson is going to be running the blood drive with the help of Lily Peterson, and that's 10 to 4 that day.
For the school, it's seniors last day tomorrow. And Isaac and I just wanted to say thank you to you guys for supporting student council and bringing us to the school run conference.
That was a blast.
It really was. And just for allowing us to do this.
Likewise, yeah. Go ahead, Isaac.
Also, City Council awarded I guess it's 3 scholarships at the Spring Arts, Senior Award night last night. And the blood drive one went to Molly, and then the 2 City Council ones went to me and Drew.
Nice. Well, first of all, I'm really happy to hear that you enjoyed the school board conference. We were tickled you were able to go and thought it would be a good experience, so that's good that you thought that it was a positive for you. And on behalf of the board, thank you for attending meetings and for all of your input and reporting and involvement and commitment, and
Sharing
the saying goes, if you want to get things done, you ask a busy person, and boy, you guys were spread about as thinly as you could be, and still were able to be here regularly, and so thank you very much, and we will miss you too.
Good luck and congratulations.
Another last, yes, and congratulations for sure. And
and Abby Zoga and Jen Woods will be coming next year.
Okay.
Or maybe just Abby, I'm not sure. One of them will be here. Oh boy.
Good luck. Shoot Jen, maybe Jen is on the fence.
I don't know why. Why wouldn't she?
We'll learn how to control Bob Woods.
We'll miss you guys. Thank you, and
Thank you.
good luck to you. And maybe something from this experience spark something that might give you some direction or help you decide in the future too. Looking back on your time in government here, even if it reinforces that you don't want to go down that path. But no, hopefully it was good.
I liked it a lot.
Thank you. All right. That will be the end of student board member, and now our activities, community ed, and she is not here, so report is in your packet. Transportation, buildings, and grounds.
The drivers did their second of their bus safety drills on April 29th. If you recall, we don't have to do the actual everybody get out of the bus, here's what we do, which is more verbal, so we shut all the buses off at the elementary, and talk to all the kids and told them kind of for what they need to do in case that happens. Gail's working on extended school year, summer school routes for the little ones. She's been really busy on top of becoming a new grandmother. Gail and Dean and their baby Abs, maybe 10 days ago, so schools. So she's flying high and trying to get all the field trips covered and all sorts of stuff. So she's been a trooper. She's been great. Buildings and grounds. Got a phone call a couple weeks ago from Mark Visner at the hospital. They had a bunch of furniture they were going to throw away, but would be interested. Yeah. So Mr. Baki and I went over there, checked things out. Got Josh Norby to come over on his prep to look at some of the cabinetry and things. We were able to, and we had to get it out within the next 36 hours or something. But we ended up one day just kind of the shop classes kids. We'd walk them over. Carl Sanderson did a nice little safety thing, gave them all high vis and hard hats, and went into that construction zone. And we got a lot of furniture, chairs, end tables. We have them stored in the bus garage now, or one of the empty stalls, because they were in the lobby, most of the stuff, so we want to kind of fumigate and all the germs out. No. We were able to take a lot of our old cruddy chairs at the bus garage where the drivers kind of meet and hang out in the little lobby area. We got rid of all the mix-match stuff, and we got nice looking furniture down there. Just take it. So thank you for the hospital for that. Next, well, the end of the school year is coming busy for everybody. Just want to remind you, we'll have a roofing project going on starting on June 3rd, which is Monday and Tuesday, the last 2 days of school with kids. It'll be right above here. I have a pre-construction meeting next Wednesday. We'll kind of figure out what they want blocked off for their cranes and their equipment and whatever. It's probably going to be on the east side here where we district office people park. So that's exciting to get that going. They should probably be in and out of a week, depending on that. We got lucky on a roof leak at the elementary school. We had in the new hallway right outside the custodial area was leaking when there was this rain coming a certain way. We got Joe Bry from ICS and Streeter Masonry over to check it out. They cut open the wall and they made a mistake on the fuel wall flashing, so it didn't cost us a thing. They fixed it, patched it up, so hopefully they'll take care of that. Other than that, then you got a little bit of the gymnasium, so we got the wood floor is going to be resurfaced. We're going to paint the gym again, I don't know what it's last time we painted. We're going to put a fresh coat of paint on there, taking off of the old logos, the old shield, the Mustang, Mora school shield, and we're going to add our new logo up there. We're putting new wall mats underneath the basketball hoops, so they're not going to be navy blue, they'll be water blue. And with our new logo as well. So painters are coming on June 4th. So the custodians been working hard to get the gym ready for graduation, and on Monday, I have a couple hard-working kids that are going to come in and help tear down all the graduation stuff.
You'll live here.
And the painters are coming on the 4th, so that'll be exciting to get that.
What about the sound system?
You know, we had an update last month. Brian Ashworth was going to come in. I haven't.
Nothing is happening.
I haven't heard anything. So.
We should probably give him a call. I called him and told him to go ahead and order the equipment that we were moving forward. So that's the intention, is to have it installed and ready to go for graduation. That'll be the first test of full auditorium. So if you're giving a speech, be sure that
you get a chance to test.
If you have any questions, let me know.
Thanks. Principal's updates. We'll go to the high school update.
May 3rd, I was asked to go and talk about our nursing assistant class in North Branch at a GPS event, and I brought 3 of our students with. The best part was hearing them share their experience, how it kind of affected what they want to do for life. Just a neat opportunity. I want to just mention that we're going to miss the senior class. It's a really good group, and you 2 are good representatives of that group. So and then the last thing I forgot to say earlier is that you have to get in your car and drive 45 minutes in each direction to try to find a school that ranked higher than us. So, that's what it is.
Have you talked to Kirsten about this? Please do.
It's a good question.
It's a great, I think it's a great story, a great compliment to the staff and students.
Yeah.
I think there should be a write-up also. Elementary.
We had our kindergarten open house. We do an open house at the end of the school year. Each teacher invites all the families in. They have some kind of a snack, cookie and milk. They also play games, and it was just, the balls were there with their kindergartner. But it's just so impressive. We nearly had 100% of some representation for each child. And the ones that didn't, of course, we had staff come and play with them. But they were all over that hallway, all over the classrooms, and just to see the parents just sitting there and playing games, and it was just very impressive. It was a really great morning at school. We also had mobile Ninja Warriors come. That was a whole lot of excitement. Mr. Schultz came and checked it out. It was every hour we would have a group of kids come out. They would get them all jazzed up, and then they would go through 3 different, well, they had some inflatables. They had this big rig that came and opened up, and then monkey bars. What was in there? The rings, all kinds of stuff, like a show. Yeah, the wall that you rode up. Anyway, the kids just, they really had a blast. It was a lot of fun.
The gentleman created that on his own. That mobile Ninja Warriors.
He's a physical therapist. Yeah.
Although I asked him if he's practicing, and he said, nah, have someone do that for me now. I like kids, and I like doing this. So that's what he does now. And then Town and Country Insurance, they donated all of these, what do they call them, the Freezy Pops. So every kid, when they finished, got a Freezy Pop. And that was nice too.
Well, Mrs. Sparks was playing with that. I was doing some serious small business at Twin State with 115 third through 5th graders. And that was a great day, and the Twins won. It was kind of fun because I would say 2/3 of the students that went had never been to Terry before. So a lot of opportunity for students to get exposed to things that they may have been exposed to through freshman field trips and things. Our 6th grade started a new tradition with the Mora track and field day, and that was one of those days as well. So our offices, those 2 days, those 3 days were just crazy. Kindergarten open house, the doors were flying open. Trying to get all the permission slips for the Ninja Warriors, trying to get the permission slips for the Twins Day. Lane and Bree and the office staff were just running crazy, but it was worth it and a lot of fun for all of our elementary students.
I'm sorry.
I just said, can we cram in any more?
The fast testing we went through, we didn't quite have all the students finished, so I didn't report out any of the data, but when we get that, then I will include that.
Field trips are going crazy. We just finished up our last week with our busy time, but fun times.
Thank you. All right, upcoming dates. I'll let you read through that. But, to site graduation. Oh, superintendent.
Just get,
You skipped everything to say?
It's okay.
You're done.
It's been a long meeting.
It's never been 8:15 and we're just getting to the consent agenda. Sorry, Craig.
With our junior high alternative learning changes for next year, we did check with MDE, and the proposed changes that we have will still qualify us as a junior high ALC. And so the targeted services funding will still be there, so we'll still be able to continue to provide those services and capture that revenue. Bid openings for the tennis courts, you've seen and heard that this evening.
Can I just interrupt? I'm sorry to interrupt you on this, but I just think it's important that how awesome it is to get the community feedback and what this staff, what this administration has done to squeeze this budget, to milk and look at everything we can to make something like that happen. We got feedback from the community, how important it was, from the teachers, how important it was. Everybody listened and made that happen. I think that's awesome.
Thank you. A big piece of that goes to Brent. I don't know how many meetings you had with staff and to get those junior high ALC changes in place or structured. There will be some slight changes in the budget coming up.
I'm just going to ask if you can share any of that, or is it too premature to?
And I meant to have that in the report. I'm sorry. One, I don't take what I did is I had a couple big meetings with, and I just opened it up to any staff that were passionate about these interventions for our at-risk students. And one meeting had a packed, it was in this room, it was a packed house. And the second meeting was less, but they threw out neat ideas. Like Mr. Eaton threw out some ideas, something we can do with a paraprofessional. And someone else threw out some ideas, and music stepped up. And we've got some really good plans in place for our at-risk students next year. So I don't want you to think that's not going to happen. We're still going to have that. And even with the junior high at sea, we're still going to build off of that.
Even though it won't be just listed and identified in one location, the services will be provided on the go, on the move, in some various places.
You guys got creative to help our kids out. That's fantastic.
Thank you for that. Bid opening for the tennis courts. The Family Services Collaborative grant for the school resource officer has been extended for another half a year, so it was to end the middle of next year. They extended it to the end of the year, so we'll continue to have our SRO in place for all of next year. The 0.5 FTE quality compensation coordinator position that Jen Strandy has filled the past 3 years, and our plan has a 3-year max built into that. We posted that position, and we had 2 individuals that came, and they had a very good plan in place, and I would say it was 100% on the hiring committee that we liked their proposal, and so we'll be going with a shared position with that for next year. And they've opted not to do it as a 0.5 of their current teaching position. They're going to do it as 0.25 each over and above what their 1.0 is. So they'll have their regular full-time job, plus they'll do this 0.25 on their own time. With the exception of some of the things that would have to be done on contract days, then they'll make that time up. And that will be filled by Chana Lennox and Jennifer Erickson. And since we already have, according to the contract, we're only allowed 1 job share per building. That made it easy that we would hire Chana, and then Jennifer would be the job share on that piece. School board work session, we held that on May 14th. We talked about 4 different options, and we set up a timeline so that we have from now until the July 25th meeting to make some decisions on what we would be doing. I got asked probably a half a dozen times, what did they decide, what did they decide, what did they decide, and my answer has been that it will be decided on at the July 25th meeting. At this time, we don't really have a solid plan. We're still continuing to work on what that would and could look like. The legislative session did yield additional money for education, and I did get a contact from one of the board members that asked if I would talk a little bit more about that, and I said I would love to, but at the time that he contacted me, I didn't have the spreadsheets. Well, the meeting we went to this morning, Scott and I, we got the spreadsheets at the meeting today, so we know exactly what the projections are. A lot of the things, and as Scott said, the stuff they put up was in such small print, and as you can see, this isn't a whole lot bigger. But what we did get is we did get 2 and 2, and they talked very specifically about the past 8 years during the Dayton administration. We got 2 and 2 every single year during that process. That basically covers inflation, and if you think about that, that will turn out to be $155 per pupil unit in the first year and $158 per pupil unit in the second year. And that took up the biggest chunk of what the legislature will approve once they have their special session. It's been agreed to upon by both the House, the Senate, and the governor. Along with that, they did put in some additional special ed money, and if you saw that or read that in the paper, that's $90 million, which sounds like a big number, but by the time it trickles down to the number of students that we have in the state of Minnesota, it trickles down to Mora, Minnesota. In the first year, for 1920, we'll get $21 per pupil unit, which comes out to $33,000 additional. The beauty of that is that we'll free up that money in the general fund, but again, 90 million doesn't translate necessarily to a big number when it gets to the school districts. In the second year, we'll get an additional $32, and so what they do is they take that $33,000, they roll that over because that comes in the first year, and then in the second year we would get an additional $50,000 over and above that. So again, $21 in year 1, $32 per pupil unit in year 2. If you recall, there was a lot of information out, and the legislature 2 years ago decided they needed to put some money into safe schools and school safety and security. And so they did the same thing in this one. In the last one, we were asked to do a grant process. And we worked with technology, the principals. We came up with grant requests. It was maximum of $500,000 per building. We put in over $450,000 for each building, so over $900,000, $950,000 in grant requests. This legislative session put a pot of money, and again, it sounds like a lot because it's millions of dollars. But by the time it translates to us, it'll be between $30 and $32 per pupil unit, which at $32 per pupil unit will be not quite $52,000. So with $950,000 worth of requests, we're going to get about $52,000, and that will come in under the safe schools. And so anything that we can currently spend the safe schools money on, we're able to spend this additional $52,000. It's one-time money. It's not recurring. It's one-time money. And so we'll take a look at that. And so these new numbers will all get calculated into the budget that will be coming with in June for you for the final budget. So some of those junior high ALC changes, some of those other things will all be, all this information will all be included in that budget that will be coming. At the May 6th Minnesota Association Region 6 meeting, I was awarded the Wise Sage Mentor Award. And in the 10 years that I've been here, I've been nominated for that 3 times. And the other 2 times, I would have voted for one of the other people as well. And so some very, very good competition. Region 6 has some very, very quality superintendents. They have 4 awards that they give out each year. And the Wise Sage Mentor, or the Old Guy Mentor Award, is the one that I was able to bring home this year.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, old guy.
Just stick around long enough.
All right, on that note.
I can't help it.
Moving on, upcoming dates. Please note, ALC graduation, Thursday, May 30th. If you can attend.
One more thing, if I may.
I suppose.
If you weren't, somebody was.
I did, this last Saturday, attend a graduation ceremony at Hamlin University. And congratulations to Dr. Jackie Stevens.
Nice work, well done. Over a extended period of time. Nice, congratulations.
And then the surprise I got when I got there is that Allison Holland was sitting right alongside of Jackie, who got her doctorate in education as well. And Annette Freiheit from Pine City, superintendent, her name was on the list, but she was not in attendance for the ceremony. So it was a very nice ceremony, and I appreciate the invitation.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
that's awesome.
Thank you for reporting on that. Are you done?
I'm done.
ALC graduation, a week from today, 10 a.m. And then we have also graduation Sunday, June 2nd, 1 p.m. We imagine 12:45, eat, no later than that. 1 o'clock for graduation, can't remember. And you can read through the rest of the upcoming dates and attend as you're able. Correspondence is coming around. Is there any other board business? All right, second open forum. Anybody like to address the board at this time? Okay, seeing none. We'll adjourn. Motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Okay, good. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Those